Welcome to Pera's Playbook. This is your host, Alex Pera. Let's open up our playbook and see who our guest is. Please enjoy. Welcome to episode 126. Today we're joined by Phoebe French. She's an actor in, a variety of different projects, but one of them is very relevant now. It's quite popular on Netflix, and there's probably going to be some spoilers in this episode for any of the Cobra Kai fans out there. Phoebe, thanks for joining. How's it going?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's going great. Yeah.
Yeah, exciting time to be a Cobra Kai fan, and then especially if you're on the show, it's one of the top shows on Netflix right now, and it's sad that it's coming to an end, but it's also really exciting, kind of see where the story is going to go, and we can dive into all of that here in a little bit. But before we kind of get into that, growing up, were you a sports kid? Did you play a lot of sports? Were you a fan of sports?
I'd say yes and no. Like I did soccer as a kid, all growing up. My dad was my soccer coach. And then I did like dance and stuff like that as well, which I guess I would consider that a sport.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm also from a small town in the South, college town, so big on college football for sure.
Yeah. So are you a fan? Like, do you watch football and college? Do you follow it or not really?
A little bit. I mean, Florida State is like the team that I follow the closest just because I'm from Tallahassee, but yeah, they're having not the best season, but that's okay.
Yeah, yeah, that's yeah, there's really I feel like across college sports, college football, people are kind of like, what happened there, right? Like there was all this great, still great coaching staff. They bring in all these new players. They're ranked preseason, which that shows you what it means to rank a team preseason. It really doesn't matter. And then they end up having
Yeah,
this terrible season. And I'm sure Knowles fans were just
I
like, well,
know.
let's hope we have a good basketball team this year. I don't know.
Yeah, especially compared to last year where they were like, I think they were undefeated or
Yeah, yeah,
something.
until
But
until
yeah.
their bowl game. Yeah, they were undefeated. It was
Yeah,
last year was a good year to be a Knowles fan.
for sure. Yeah.
So, acting. How old were you when you got started? What kind of got you into it? Like tell us about that.
Cool. Yeah. I started acting when I was super young. I was doing like theater and stuff like that. And then by the time I was probably like 5, I think I did my first film role. So I kind of just always enjoyed doing it. It's fun. It's like pretend and the stakes weren't too high when I was that little. So it was just really easy and like fun. Grew up doing musical theater and acting and stuff like that. And then I graduated with my degree in acting in 2020. Um, and yeah, I love it. It's just so much fun. So it's always something that I've loved to do since I was a kid.
Yeah, that's crazy that you started that young. I mean, it's the same thing with sports. You hear people, they start their sport, they're like, before they can, at the same time they can walk, they're like learning to play their sport.
Yeah.
And that always amazes me. And then you have other people who don't start playing their sport or acting or whatever they're doing till like way later in life. Everyone's got this different path. It's kind of neat to see how people start, how old they are, and when like the passion really sets in. It's like, at what point through your kind of youth and growing up did you think like, hey, I really want to take this seriously?
I think kind of when I started high school, I realized that, oh, this like can be a career. And, you kind of think either you're like an A-list celebrity actor or like nothing, but there's a lot of in between, surprisingly. I don't know how well that correlates to sports too, but just, yeah, there's a lot more to do with it than you'd kind of think. Like you don't need to be an A-list celebrity. Maybe that would be great, but you can take it seriously and keep taking classes and kind of see where it goes because there's a lot of different careers. I didn't really think I wanted to do film until honestly until Cobra Kai was like my first big, film thing. So yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of kind of overlap and similarities between like Hollywood and the acting world, and then like looking at the professional sports world. It's like the same thing. You don't have to be that top star. I mean, like teams are so big, right? They need backups, they need young players, they need depth, and you judge a team by And the same thing is true about a production, right? Like your production is only going to be as good as your whole cast, not just your
Yeah.
top actor, because you've got to fill in all
Yeah.
of these other roles, especially a show like Cobra Kai, when you've got high schools and you've got dojos. I mean, there's a lot of people that need to be involved. Um, Obviously, there's plenty of movies where it's just centers around a handful of people. Um,
Yeah.
but Cobra Kai is definitely not one of those because you've got this whole high school aspect and
Yeah.
dojos and then the tournaments, and I mean you've just got a ton of people involved. There's so many different layers to it.
It's definitely like a world. It's like a universe. So you have, yeah, yeah, like you were saying, there's all different aspects. There's people that they bring back that maybe had one or two lines from one of the original Karate Kid movies, but people still know them and love them just because they're such iconic characters. So yeah, even, me, I'm not the star of it at all, but it's like it just adds to the world to see familiar faces that keep coming back to it. So it's really cool.
Right, yeah, I definitely notice the same kids in the dojo the season to season, and I like that they keep bringing back the same because there's a lot of shows where they kind of just fill in the background characters with new people. There's random people,
Yeah.
but I like the consistency.
It helps make it feel more real for sure that, we're these kids
Yeah,
that belong even with all the dojo hopping and all of that, we're there since day one, basically.
right, exactly. I think it's something that not every show has. The Cobra Kai definitely has. Cobra Kai's done a lot of great things. And one of them being like it's got a new storyline, but it also, like you said, takes old storylines. I feel like sometimes they try to remake the show too much when they're kind of continuing a series, and people don't want like a complete remake. So when you have that like nice blend of new storyline mixed with old storyline, I think that really sets it up for success because you can get people who maybe never watched the Karate Kid movies into it. And then you have the people who, grew up watching those movies. They want to see how it continues. So you get this nice blend of an audience.
Yeah, for sure. It's like like a generation thing because, we have a lot of people coming back from the Karate Kid. You got like the 80s music and some of the themes, the All Valley tournaments, all of that. But yeah, it's a bunch of new stuff too, which is really cool.
Were you a fan of the movies as a kid or the show before you got on it?
I was. I loved the movies. Just they're so iconic. So I definitely knew about those, loved them, watched them as a kid. I didn't know about Cobra Kai until it got on Netflix. Like I can't say I'm an OG fan when people were watching it on YouTube Red and stuff like that. But once it got onto Netflix and I watched it, I was like, oh my God, Karate Kid. So I binged it right away just because it's such like an easy, fun watch. So yeah, I watched it once it got on. I think season three was gonna go to Netflix.
I think that's how a lot of people were. Like it was kind of not talked about as much. It got to Netflix, more publicity, more people subscribing, and it really kind of took off. It was definitely the best thing for the show to be on Netflix
Yeah.
and for Netflix to take over, just for like a media publicity sense and more, more viewers are gonna get to see it because you think about, I mean, almost everybody you talk to has Netflix.
Yeah.
Everyone was subscribing to it already, and then you bring in this show, so that's definitely great. How did
Yeah.
you kind of like get on it? Right? I know there's various ways that people end up on TV shows. Was it something that you
Yeah.
pursued? Like, hey, I want to be on this. So how did you get on the show?
I started in season four. So when I first got on, the call was just for like athletic female types. And I didn't know that kind of the goal of that season, one of the arcs was to add females to join the All Valley, kind of so Tori and Sam could compete. But just they wanted, that like new female champion and kind of have like those characters more central. So I didn't know that I was even gonna end up doing that and being in the All Valley in season four, but I joined with the thought that I was going to be in like maybe one or two episodes, hopefully. And then they kind of just kept continuing. And then after like the All Valley season four, we just kind of knew like thankfully somehow they liked the that we were there and just kept us for the rest of the show, which is crazy.
Right. Yeah, I just went back and rewatched season four to see exactly where you came in because I was doing my research online and looking at the like Cobra Kai fan wiki and reading, and I was
Yeah.
like, okay, she comes in season 4, and then I forget so much, when you don't watch it. Watching season 6, I like forget so much of what happened in the show. When Silver shows up and kind of like publicizes Cobra Kai, he starts getting in the new gear, and that brings in a lot of those new students like yourself, your character, seeing that Johnny looking at that Instagram live, like where's my new student? And you guys are all
Uh-huh.
over at Cobra Kai unboxing that new gear, and he's just so
Yeah.
defeated.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I didn't, yeah, I had no idea where they were going to take us, and they didn't really fully tell us until after we had been filming for a couple weeks. Like, oh yeah, by the way, this is what is going to happen. And I was like, great, I'm along for the ride. I love it. So,
Yeah, so you kind of went in blind a little bit, not really knowing what
Mhm.
to expect.
Yeah, I all I knew was like athletic female, and there was three of us that got like added. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's that's cool. That's so vague, right? Like athletic female. I mean, it could have been anything you said.
yeah,
Is that pretty
yeah. They didn't even
common?
specify karate.
Is that pretty common, across movie and TV roles? Like when you're like going for parts that it's just vague and you just kind of go for it. You're like, well, yeah, I'm athletic and I'm a female. Like, boom, whatever it is, I'll figure it out.
Yeah, pretty much. It's always kind of vague. And then they're like, by the way, like, do you have any karate experience? Do you know how to do these different, X, Y, and Z type of things? Or just making sure, once they have like the look down and they can see that, you can act and all of that, then they'll kind of, because we started training and learning stuff once we got there. So I didn't have any prior knowledge actually of karate. I mean, very, very little.
Yeah. So crash course in karate once you got on set.
Yeah, for sure.
So do they have like actual karate instructors there, like kind of teaching you just the basics so you like look legit when you're in the dojo and when you're fighting people and whatnot?
Yeah, yeah. We've had a couple different senseis come out, but since I started in season 4, we've had the same like stunt coordinator and same fight coordinator. So they're really the ones that are teaching us, this is the combination you're doing in this scene, or these are some things you should know, or warm up, or kind of like drills that you can do, in the background, even just to make it look legit, because they take all of that like seriously, that we're not just like standing in the background like looking dumb. So anytime we're doing it that, yeah, we'll learn it like in the morning or take a class or something and then film it after that or the next day.
Is that something you worked on when you weren't on set too? Like practicing and training to keep up on it to make sure that you really had it down?
Yeah, for sure. Because, and especially if I want to make sure, it looks good and that they want to keep us and stuff. So, especially, yeah, kind of switching to like this season being in Miyagi Do was totally different. So, we really had to like work on the look between the two styles of fighting because it's all very different. So, we would definitely, yeah, a lot of practicing when you're not there just to make sure you're kind of keeping up with it.
So that brings perfect, like exactly kind of a switch to what I want to talk about is that switch to Miyagi Do. So I mean, Cobra Kai, one of the phrases is Cobra Kai never dies. And complete, different styles of fighting. Like Cobra Kai is offense and no mercy and attacking and
Yeah.
Miyagi Do is finding your inner peace and defending yourself and all that. So different philosophies, but right, like not often that you get a lot of people that switch sides with such drastic changes and that whole underlying message like Cobra Kai never dies. You can see Johnny struggles with it throughout
Mhm.
the show at many times. Personally, where do you still feel like you align, being a Cobra Kai and now a Miyagi-Do?
Yeah, I still feel that connection to Cobra Kai for sure. And I don't know if that's just where I started, so that's where I spent, most of my time, but I don't know, I just have like a attachment, I guess, to it. And not that Miyagi-Do was still fun and it was cool, but I think, yeah, those are like my roots, So I feel like I'm a Cobra Kai team all the way,
Right.
if I
That
could
that
choose.
that total brainwash from Kreese and Silver, now you can't switch.
Exactly, exactly. They got me locked in. Like I gotta stay true to them. So
Yeah, that's funny.
yeah.
So season 6 it just dropped recently, the second part, third part, and the final ending of the show coming in February. A lot of craziness throughout the season, is there anything that really surprised you, that happened? Like you were just shocked?
Um, yeah, a lot of it. I think all of part three is very surprising. I mean, there's just a lot. Like, I think Cobra Kai, I think the writers do a great job. Like, you never fully know what to expect. There's things that you think maybe I could predict that, this is going to happen or these people are going to get together, or like what. But I think they do a really good job of keeping it on us on their toes for the whole way.
Yeah.
So even after like what happened to Quan and all of that, like the aftermath is just not, I don't think, what anyone is expecting. So I think just seeing the arc of this season, it was just like crazy to watch it play out.
Yeah, there's many times they've had me completely fooled. Like, spoiler, when Daniel leaves the hotel and he's searching for Master Salerno. He wants to learn more about Mr. Miyagi, and he gets chained up. I was convinced this is Kreese. Kreese is behind it, and they did such a
Yeah.
good job painting that picture. I wasn't even thinking about Silver. I was like, oh, he's got to be in prison still. Like,
Yeah.
not even a thing. And then, they pulled
There
that
he
Uno
is.
reverse card on you, and then like, boom, there he is. That was such
Hmm.
an epic revealing him in the hot tub,
Yeah.
which also translates back to the third movie with him in the hot tub and the cigar. Um,
Yeah.
but
I
yeah,
love
like
that.
yeah, just they got me. They totally got me on that one.
Yeah,
It was
exactly. Yeah, they do that till the very end. So
right.
I think watching it all play out, like even as a fan of the show, when I'm watching it, it's like, oh my God, I totally forgot that that happened, or seeing the scenes that I wasn't there to film because I was hardly there at all in part two. So it was really cool just getting to watch it, and yeah,
Right, right, yeah, because I mean it's this kind of the select group that's at the Sekai Taikai, those kind of
yeah,
main actors and actresses that I'm sure were part of that. I'm interested as a fan to see kind of how it ends, right? Because like you said, that whole kind of part two, they're over in Spain, and that's like the main focus. Um,
hmm,
so like how do they wrap it all up going back home with all of these characters? I thought it was funny when the brawl starts and you had Bert and some of the other characters, like, well, we should have been there. We're so
yeah,
good at brawling. Um, and I
yeah,
think the show does a great job of adding in humor. Like it's serious
hmm,
and there's serious storylines and there's serious events. But there's also so much humor, especially with Johnny and Daniel and their relationship. I mean, it's really
yeah.
kind of got everything.
It does. Yeah. I think the humor helps too because when you think about it, it's like two people worrying over their high school karate match. It's like kind of a comical concept that all of this is translating that much later, even though it gets pretty serious and like legit as
Right.
time goes on. But they keep that kind of like, yeah, like you said, that humor is in there always. So I think it really adds to it for sure.
Right. So talk a little bit about working on set. I mean, like coming in, right? There's a lot of big actors associated with it, especially growing up watching, the show and then now you're finally working with some of those original Karate Kid actors and then some kind of up and coming stars, just around Hollywood, especially like different Netflix series, a lot of the different actors and actresses have been a part of. So you come into this and how was that hard? Like to just like now you show up and it's in season four, so they've all been working together and you've kind of like watched these people growing up as a kid and now you're here working with them.
Yeah, I mean, it just is crazy. And yeah, like you said, I came in, halfway through, so all these people had already been together, but everyone was so welcoming and accepting and so excited, especially because, there was girls there for the first time, so everyone thought that was cool. And yeah, I mean, it's been so cool just getting to see all these people that you look up to, like these icons, and then you're just like talking to them like they're a normal person. They're like, "Hey, I'm gonna go grab a snack. Do you want anything?" And you're like, "How are you talking to me right now?" But yeah, you really just do become friends, especially because you're there, 12 plus hours every single day. And a lot of it is just sitting around talking and waiting while they're setting up shots. So you really get to know people. And yeah, everyone treated us like great. So it's been really fun. And yeah.
Yeah, develop some new friendships. I've like you said, you're sitting around. It'd be really hard not to accidentally at least develop a friendship with somebody. Like even if you're not trying,
Yeah.
it's just gonna happen when you spend that much time with people.
Exactly, yeah. And you're all excited talking about the show and working on things, or someone will be like, "Hey, do you want to go, run this like kata move that we learned?" Or oh, I think it'd be really cool. Like Billy loves improv. So anytime Johnny like has, these funny moments, like sometimes he'll just come up and be like, "Hey, I want to improv in the scene. Like, is that okay with you?" Or like, "I have these lines to try out. What do you want to do?" And yeah, there's just so much happening. So everyone's, yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. What are like what's like William Zabka like? I mean like I was reading a little bit about him and how he kind of right in the 80s he played the bad guy bully a lot throughout different
Mhm.
movies and he kind of got that image and like different interviews you watch or read he said like people would actually harass him because they thought that's what he was actually like, which I mean it still baffles me that people don't get that it's acting and like just because somebody
Yeah.
plays a bad guy doesn't mean they're a bad guy. But
Yeah.
when you're working with him, and Ralph, different actors and actresses across the board. I mean, like, are they comical? Are they funny? They keep it pretty light and fluffy, or is it like when you're with them, since they're kind of big name actors, is it like all serious, all business?
Definitely Billy is like a jokester, like goofball. So he was, really my first sensei kind of. I mean, I had Kreese and Silver and then kind of him. He had Eagle Fang a little bit in like season 4. So getting to work with them was just so like fascinating to see kind of, yeah, how they different like Ralph is so nice and sweet too, but he's a little bit more serious, kind of similar to maybe their characters a little bit. Like
Yeah,
Billy just always laughing, always, in a good mood. He's doing a prank on someone or like running around or something. And yeah, Ralph's a little more like straightforward, but they're just the two of them together, even just watching them is like so funny. Same with Martin who plays Kreese, just everyone is just like their character, but not at the same time. Like they're all,
yeah.
yeah, really cool.
That's kind of fun that they are, but they're kind of like their characters, but in a good way. Like
Yeah,
not
and they have the best traits of their characters, I would say.
right, right. Yeah, not the like psycho. Like if you're thinking about Crease, he's definitely got some not awesome
Yeah, yeah,
characteristics. Um,
yeah. Like,
he,
yeah,
he's a character that I like go back and forth with, like sometimes I'm all on board. I'm like, yeah, I kind of like him. And then he does something. I'm like, man, I just can't get behind that. Like, I just don't know
yeah.
where to feel on this guy. He's all over the place.
Hmm. Yeah,
He's,
he's definitely gone through a lot. Like his character, his arc has been crazy. Yeah, because you start feeling bad for him a little bit. I mean, I did when, Silver was taking over and he's kind of defending Tori and, he kind of gets kicked out and then he gets blamed for the Stingray thing. So he has some redemption there, but then I don't know, season 6, he kind of goes back to his old ways a little bit.
yeah, especially like what I've seen with him at the tournament. Like he's just the same old crease. But I mean, I really kind of you feel bad for him too when you see they show the flashbacks, the Vietnam flashbacks. You're like, man, this character's been through a lot. There's so much history there. Maybe that's why he's like what he is. But then he still does some
Yeah.
stuff. You're like, man, that's just unexcusable. Doesn't matter what your past is, you're still crazy, and
Yeah.
you're like manipulating these kids, and you're like, you know. So yeah, he's an
Yeah.
interesting. He's got one of the most interesting arcs, I think, in the show. I mean, all of the characters develop, but like I feel like he's got really kind of a unique arc compared to some of the other
Sure.
characters.
Yeah.
So, there's another movie coming out soon, Karate Kid Legends, which is set after the events of Cobra Kai. But I think this, kind of expansion of the universe with Cobra Kai has left the door open for possibilities in the future. There's so many new characters now. There's so many things you could do. Just kind of your opinion. Do you think that there will be more later on in the coming years now that we've got all these different characters, another spin-off TV show or more movies that involve the kind of the Cobra Kai characters?
Yeah, I think there's definitely room for possibility. And I think because I think they did such a great job with, Cobra Kai is technically like a spin-off, I guess you could say, of Karate Kid. And they did justice with that and made it its own thing. So I think that there could be, something potentially, especially because they have this big younger generation, and then you have even a little bit younger, which is like Kinney and Devin and all of them and Griffin and like so they have kind of a lot going on. So I could definitely see them doing more with it because I feel like there is a lot more to it. But at the same time, I feel like Cobra Kai itself, I feel like ending here is kind of perfect with the kids like graduating high school, like their age and all of that. So yeah.
Yeah, it's hard, right? Like as a fan, you don't want it to end, you want more, but then at the same time, there's always that risk of if they make another show, what if it kind of ruins it? Like you
Yeah.
see it
Yeah.
with movie series when they just keep adding another one and another one. Like I'm a big Top Gun. I thought Top Gun Maverick was
Mhm.
phenomenal, and they're gonna make a third one, but
Yeah.
there's that I think that's great, but there's also a part of me that's like, "Oh, I hope it doesn't
I
suck."
hope they
Like,
don't mess it up.
like
Yeah, because then it
there's
kind
always
of
that
takes away
fear.
from what they did before, like it
Yeah.
makes it you're like, wow, why'd you have to do that? But
Right.
I think that's why ending it here, I mean, is like perfect. And there's so much more in part three. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited. I'm excited for February. It'll be hard not to just binge it all and like that's the thing. I think it's such a bingeable show, but at the same time,
It
then it's
is.
like, oh man, now I'm done.
It's over. Yeah.
Yeah, and it really will be over then. And it's one of those shows that there's a few shows I get sad like Harry Potter. Every time I watch the final movie, I kind of get sad.
Oh
I'm like,
yeah.
oh, the culmination of so many years and like events is now over. And even if you've seen it 100 times, it's fun when you're rewatching it to keep going, and then you get to the end and it's kind of sad. And I don't know. I feel like it's going to be
Yeah.
like that with Cobra
Yeah.
Kai.
Like filming this season, yeah, just it didn't even really sink in until like the last week or two. I feel like I was there and you're just kind of looking around and you're like, oh wow, this I don't want it to be true that this is ending, And so getting to like watch it and see it all edited with the music and like how the fights look on there, it kind of feels, like I got a little bit more to look forward to, even though I know kind of how it ends and what's going to happen. And we already filmed that, but it was like a big part of my life. It still is. So it was, yeah, sad.
Right, that's your everyday for long periods of time where you go there and that's what you're
Yeah.
doing. That's your life. You see plenty of
Yeah.
interviews with actors and actresses after a show ends. There's such a hole left there because like that was your main focus for so long.
Yeah.
Kind of, I mean, obviously, hopefully you get more projects and you'll get involved in those. But I feel like Cobra Kai and, we look at other actresses that are in really, you know, I mean, big projects, right? Like Cobra Kai is something, if you talk to a lot of people, everybody knows Cobra Kai. It's kind of, it's
Yeah.
pretty cool to be a part of that. It's such a monumental show with the both generations thing. Um, so I mean, like, yeah, you'll get more projects, but right, like they're
Nothing like
not they're not
that
all as
ever again.
unique. Right, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a, yeah, like you said, it's like a monumental thing and so iconic that it's part of this already created universe that so many people love. And then just even getting to be in it, or, I was a fan of it before. So it's like so cool just to have that such a unique experience. Like, I can't believe I was so lucky to like be there. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's cool that you're a part of that universe forever now. Your character and your acting and everything, you're part of that universe for the rest of, just eternity.
Yeah. Can't believe it.
So, what, kind of like quick, what advice would you give to young, actors and actresses that kind of want to get going?
Yeah, I think for me, something that really resonates is kind of what I was saying earlier. There are so many opportunities for things. Like, don't just think, this is such a hard industry. There's no way I'm gonna make it. But why not you? Someone's got to do it. Someone is got to create these characters and like audition and people hopefully want you to succeed and like, when you go into an audition, they want you to do great so that everything can be great. So like I was like, I don't know that much about karate. I don't know if this is like the type of thing they want me for. I'm sure so many people would want this. So like, I don't even know if it's worth it, but it is worth it. If you really want to, you might as well give it your all. And yeah,
Yeah, right. I mean, like it's the same can kind of be translated to anything in life, though, right? Like sports, or maybe you want to go into kind of a unique career that,
Mhm.
the percentage of people that actually make it and that is kind of low, right? But like those people obviously made it, right? Like so, like you'll never make it if you don't try, if you don't give it an
Yeah,
attempt. So, and kind of anything that's worth it is hard work, right? Like anything you want it's going to be hard work.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that definitely translates to sports too. I mean, you think you have to be the like on or even like D1 or you have to go professional or anything like that, but there's so many opportunities even if you don't. And someone has to go professional, someone has to be in the NFL, might as well be you.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So I end every episode. At one point, it was just talking about music, but now I give the guests like an opportunity to like, do you want to talk about music or movies? Like, do you want to talk about your favorite kind of music or your favorite kind of movie to kind of end the episode?
Let's do movies just because I feel like
Okay.
it fits with this. Yeah,
Right.
it fits with
Yeah. Yeah. So like what's your favorite genre of movies? Like that, if you're gonna sit down and watch something to make you happy, what are you gonna lean towards?
I love like suspense, thriller, like horror. I think my favorite genre for sure. And there's so much that you can do with that if it's like a jump scare or like a gory horror, or if it's just like a psychological thing or on the edge of your seat type of anything like that. I'm always just locked in. Like I love it.
Do you have a favorite actor or actress?
Hmm. I mean, a lot of people will come to mind, but I feel like I love like directing wise. I like Jordan Peele movies. Like I like those like psychological type of things. Yeah.
Yeah, so you like those kind of mind thriller type, like you said, the psychological thriller movies. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely gotta like be your thing. I'm definitely never been into those types of movies or like
Yeah, I feel
horror
like
movies
you
or
you are or
thrillers.
you aren't.
Right, yeah, exactly. It's either your cup of tea or not. Like I mean, like I feel like other types of movies, comedies, right, like everyone can kind of vibe with them. Action
Hmm.
movies is another one. You're either like into that or you're like, this is just stupid. Like I don't want to see
Yeah.
this. Um, so yeah, it's definitely one of those genres that's on the outside. It's like you're either for it or you're not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which when there's other genres, like everybody can kind of get behind them.
Yeah, which is kind of cool. I mean, I think what I like about those is yes, you're like on the edge of your seat, but it's the kind of thing too where you can rewatch it like 3 times and you're like, "Oh my God, I didn't even notice, that character said that early on or why the setting is so important or why this character's relationship with someone else is so important because it kind of like keeps you on your toes and there's so much going on. So it's always
Yeah.
like fun to watch those because it's like a puzzle you have to figure out.
Right. Yeah. One that comes to mind. And I feel like it fits into that is the Sixth Sense.
Yes.
It's like so like there's so much going on that you can miss, especially if you
Mhm.
don't know. Like I mean, if you've seen spoilers online, you pick up pretty quick what's going on. Like when
Yeah.
I saw it for the first time, I think I watched it in like a film class at school or something. I really didn't know what was going on. And then when you kind of look back, there are all these different clues that if you picked up on them, maybe you would have figured it out.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It's fun seeing how it all works out at the end. You're like, oh my gosh. Like,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. M. Night Shyamalan's got those types of movies too, that those mind they really can
Mhm.
mess with your mind when you're watching them.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. His movies are great.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Really appreciate you coming on the podcast, talking some Cobra Kai. Like I said, the perfect time for it with it just coming out. But hopefully we didn't. If anyone starts watching it and they're like, I haven't seen something that happened, wait until you finish the part that's out. For the
Yeah.
handful of spoilers, I hope somebody. Well, I guess if they don't, that's their fault, right? I said
That's
spoiler alert at the
true.
beginning. That's their fault if they miss
Yeah.
it. But yeah, I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for listening. Please stay tuned for more episodes soon.